All right, today we're talking all about color, and the best way to bring color to your home is paint.
Paint. You know, everybody can paint, but really the big part of painting is the prep. So we have a lot of tools out here to get you started in your painting process. First, of course, you want to move all your furniture in the middle of the room. These paint glides are great, furniture glides. They go underneath the furniture, and you can slide everything in the middle of the room. And once you have it in the middle of the room, you need to tarp. And I like these cloth tarps best because if anything drips on them, they clean up nicely. Tarp the whole area that you're working on. Never put a cloth tarp on plastic because you'll be slipping and sliding all over the room. Then you can start your big prep, and that's filling holes and caulking any gaps or cracks that you have. Shari and I really like this flush spackling. You put it on flush with a putty knife. It dries, and then you don't have to sand it, so there's no sanding involved. Of course, you want to caulk any big gaps that you have between your trim or your baseboards. Any of those long gaps you have, just go ahead and caulk.
That makes a huge difference.
Yep. You want to do all your masking. Painter's tape is great. Make sure it's wide enough that you can mask not only the floor, but anything that you don't want to get any paint on, such as your trim. So you want to do all your taping. While this is drying, the caulking and the spackling is drying, go ahead and do your sanding. And these sanding blocks are wonderful. It has a fine grit and a medium grit and usually a coarser grit on the side. Do all your sanding of your trim. One little tip, if it's shiny, sand it. That way your paint will adhere nicely.
So you're sanding first and then come back and
Yep. Well, you can do a little bit of everything, but I like to fill the holes and everything so that you don't have any, you can go back and sand and it's drying. This takes longer to dry, so you want to do all your sanding. Of course, you want to make sure that you get all your brushes, get those ready. And whenever you clean a brush, make sure you put it back in its packaging. Now, Shari, after all, he did all the sanding, usually walks around and uses a tack cloth and does all the dusting for me.
That's right, clean it up.
Use a dust cloth or you can use a paper towel. Then as far as putting the paint on the wall, these are great. You want a tray, and these deeper trays really work out nice. And what I like about them, there's actually a magnet on the side so you can place your brush in there while you're painting. Always select a good roller frame so that you have smooth rolling. So the worst thing you do is buy a cheap roller frame. Always invest in a little bit better.
That's the neat thing about the tray here. I mean, there's a couple of great things.
Yep.
It's deep, so like those skinny ones that you normally have where you fill the paint up and it's spilling all the time, really deep, and the plastic liner.
That's right, you can use these over and over again. Pour the paint back into your paint gallon, seal it up, let this dry, and the paint will peel. You can use that over and over. You're not throwing them away. Instead of carrying a gallon of paint around to do your paint, pour about an inch of paint into this when you're doing your cut-in. These actually have plastic liners as well. Great thing instead of carrying a paint pot around. If you're doing a lot of painting and you have a lot of paint, these paint screens are great. They pop into a 5-gallon bucket, and then you can use this to apply paint to your roller. And then when you're done for the day, you can just cover this up with a lid, and your paint will be nice and secure.
That's
it won't
great.
Dry out. Roller covers. There are so many different types, but just make sure you buy one that is multi-purpose, that you can do smooth, rough surfaces with. If you do get an inexpensive roller, try to remove any of the fibers with a piece of painter's blue tape or painter's green tape. Remove all the fibers. And then the last thing you have to do is just make sure you clean up. And one of my favorite tools that I found, instead of throwing a roller cover away, because these are about $6, they cost a lot of money, pop this on this centrifugal thing. You just slide it on there, and what this does, you put a little water and you centrifugal down in your bucket, and that'll clean that up, and you're ready to go. You can use that over and over again. Clean off your glass with a glass scraper, wipe up any drips that you have with a towel or a paper towel, and you're good to go. That is the basic steps and basic tools that you need to get a perfect paint job.
Every time.